just wanted to get us started with a little bit of thought about why are we doing this conference and why are we here. And the Academy for Jewish Religion, we're over 55 years old. And for all of that time, AJR has been what we could call a lab of pluralism, a school that, and an institution that was founded and has continued as one that is really devoted to struggling with ideas of pluralism. And not only that, we also pride ourselves in being a place that challenges ourselves and others to think outside the box and to really respond to new approaches to the Jewish community. So thinking about these issues about pluralism and the boundaries of pluralism felt like something we should be confronting and that we were happy to confront. Now, everyone talks about pluralism today, right? All the organizations are pluralistic. The movements are all pluralistic. Everyone talks about themselves as pluralistic, which is really kind of nice. But what does it mean? What does it mean that everyone is using this word pluralistic? And I think in every group and every place you talk to, it means something different. And if I can just give you 3 tiny little examples that you'll see they have nothing to do with each other. I was speaking with a college at one point, a Hillel group, and the kids were talking about what are their pluralistic successes. And one of the successes they pointed to is that while there are concurrent minyanim going on, someone from one minyan was willing to help someone from another minyan carry a bottle of wine. And that was their success in pluralism. Which some of us may think is just derech eretz, right? So it's a question. Another example is pluralism means we are willing to have concurrent minyanim, right? So when we are at a program, we are willing to have several different places to pray, all of which satisfy different needs of individuals. That's another definition or use of pluralism. Let me give you another one. At AJR, when we daven together, we actually consider ourselves to have made almost a communal covenant that we follow whoever is leading. And we have one minyan, one place to pray, and whoever leads, everyone davens in that way. Everyone prays in that style. Whether it's really the style you're used to or is your favorite one or not, with the idea that you have something to learn from it, with the idea that you can be touched by experiencing something that is not your norm. That's another example of pluralism, right? So these 3 are all groups that may use this term, but they're all using it very differently. So how do we really know what pluralism is? And I don't know that we do, but we do know what it isn't. And what it isn't is the idea that anything goes. Pluralism is not the sense that whatever you do is okay. It's the idea that a community has made a decision for itself as to what is acceptable and appropriate in that community. And whether that community realizes it or not, they have set boundaries for themselves, and they have decided what works for them and what doesn't work for them. It's just interesting that often the communities don't realize that they have done that, right? Because it just becomes a natural part of the work. I can give you an example of that. At AJR, for example, again, funny, that's where all my examples are from. If we not only believe that we're pluralistic, but we have core values, right? And one of our core values is to be egalitarian. And on one level, that is welcoming and open. On another level, if you are someone who believes you don't want to listen to women's voice in prayer or in song, you're not going to do well at our school because you're going to hear women's voice in prayer and song all the time. So by opening on one side, we have necessarily closed on another side. Those are boundaries that we have set, and it's just one example. So how do we look at this in the bigger picture? And I think what we see is as you just really don't have to go much farther than even the front page of the New York Times to see examples of communities and synagogues struggling with where are their boundaries, what belongs and what doesn't belong. A wonderful example is the issue of the women at the wall. And on the one hand, they're fighting to be accepted. And on the other hand, if you read some of the op-ed pieces and letters to the editor in the Jewish Week, you see that in their search and desire for acceptance, they are perhaps closing off other people. Now, that again may be a decision a community can make, but it shows once again that pluralism is not everything goes, because as you open one door, you're necessarily closing another. So what we're going to talk about today is really our speakers are really from very different parts of the Jewish world and also from the same all at once. And I think that's what's so exciting about this group. And they're all people who think really hard. So what we're going to do is really have an open and free-flowing conversation. And hopefully it'll help us to struggle. And I just want to emphasize that our job here is not to come up with conclusions and not to come up with answers. What we have learned, if nothing else, is that there are so many moving pieces in this whole struggle for pluralism and thinking about pluralism. The one thing we all know is that we have to talk a lot. And we have to really think a lot and talk together. And so that's what we are hoping to do today. So I want to start this with just opening for each one of our panelists to take a turn and to really share with us what is an example, a real life example that you have dealt with or thought through where you have seen the issues of setting boundaries for pluralism and how it's affected communities. So I'm passing on to you.